Dear guests, welcome to the exchange. I now hand you over to our Arts Richmond Chairperson, Nicholas George.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Nicholas George, Chairman of Arts Richmond. Well done for braving coming here for those who are expecting to use trains today, and well done for making it anyway. I spoke to the chap outside Twickenham station just now and asked him why there wasn't any. He said there were essential engineering works going on, and he even just described it like painting the Forth Bridge. The only problem is there were 5 of them. So, a very warm welcome to Arts Richmond's Poetry Celebration Afternoon with Roger McGough. We're also delighted to welcome you to French Lessons, who will be performing their songs at the interval and towards the end. This is our second Roger McGough Poetry Celebration event, and this year we received a record 274 entries of remarkable quality. It was a very hard and lengthy process for our distinguished panel of judges to select the poems you're going to hear, and an even harder task for Roger to select the winners that he'll announce at the end. May we ask you please not to applaud after every poem, but at the end of every section, which will hopefully be quite obvious when we reach there. There are about 6 sections in all throughout the afternoon. We know you're going to enjoy this afternoon very much, but before I go, I just would not be doing my job as Chairman of Arts Richmond if I did not encourage you all to become members of Arts Richmond, if you are not already. We put on a series of high-quality events around the calendar. We operate as a volunteer organisation, in fact, a team of fanatical, driven, highly talented volunteers operating on very modest funding indeed. So we are very reliant on our members and affiliates and other donators for their kind support. And we are at their service to promote their arts in the borough. Please do grab a copy of our newsletter, monthly newsletter in the foyer. See what you think, and there's more details, of course, on our website at artsrichmond.org.uk. So, without further ado, let me now introduce our special guest. Roger McGough is an English poet, a performance poet, a broadcaster, a children's author, and playwright. He presents the BBC Radio 4 programme Poetry Please, as well as performing his own poetry. Now, Roger, of course, is one of the leading members of the Liverpool Poets, a group of young poets influenced by beat poetry and the popular music and culture of the 1960s Liverpool. He is now an honorary fellow of Liverpool St John's Moores University, fellow of the Royal Society of Literature, president of the Poetry Society, and of course, we're very glad and honoured that he's also a patron of Arts Richmond. So now let me introduce you to the man himself, Roger McGough.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Nicholas. Warm welcome. And thank you all for coming very much today. Very warm. I say warm welcome. It's not that warm, is it? But thank you for coming. It's really a good occasion. I know the poets. I was delighted to be part of this, as ever, and reading the poems. Such a high standard. It was a great, lovely experience for me to read the poems. And thank you for the panel, too, for the work they put in. It's been really good. As I say, it's great to come in and see so many happy, smiling faces. I was actually reminded of when I was in a Dubai Festival about 3 years ago, Dubai Festival, doing something similar to this in the afternoon, presenting prizes. And it was a war poetry competition, and all the children in the Dubai and the schools had to write a poem about the king. About the more adjectives you use, the better the poem, the winner. But I walked into this huge auditorium, and it was full, and I mistakenly said, "It's wonderful to see so many happy, smiling faces." And I looked out, and there are many women. You know I'm going to say, all the first 300 people were all women wearing burqas. And you couldn't see them smiling faces. But anyway, they all laughed because all the burqas moved. Anyway, that's by the way. At the beginning of lockdown, I wrote a little poem called Safety in Numbers, which goes, safety in numbers, not anymore. The room starts to fill, I'm out at the door. But I'm not out the door today, and I'm glad to say. But no more running for doors. Identity. Obviously, the theme struck a chord with the poets who entered the competition. By far, the biggest response fell under the category of, who am I? The concepts a person holds about himself and how these develop throughout life, depending on personal experience. So let's meet our first clutch of poets and hear their poems. We're going to hear, in order, Library Card by Kathleen Bell, 5 Guesses by Simon Williams, Self-Knowledge by Duncan Forbes, Ghazal, Through by Janet Hatherley, read by our reader today, Naomi Pink, and Love in the Electronic Age by Stuart Forty, with our reader, Matthew Griffiths.
I'm Kathleen Bell, and I'm going to read Library Card. No need to prove address. Put down your household bills and driving license, ID card, passport, permit to fish, and take these stairs. You'll find a special room whose softly cushioned chairs are deep enough to drown in. Sit and wait. Soon the librarian, fragrant with gentle hands, will come to ask you simple questions. Your early dreams, what were they? As a child, which of your parents did you hate most? Why did you desert your early loves? And now I need to understand why in mixed company you edge away, teacup in hand. The bookcase knows your shame. Think back to when you filched that half-full perfume bottle. What did you really want? You set a cherished plate to topple. Did it crash? You went. Where did you go? Where are you from? Where are you really from? And why are you here now, asking to borrow books? Of course you may. Please take your card and use it. If you don't return, we levy fines. We keep a record of everything you take. We've read you now. Your voice and manner tell us more than any book. Goodbye. Good day.
I'm Simon Williams, and this is 5 Guesses. I am not a northern white rhino, neither mother nor daughter. With no hope of breeding, they wait out their days. Guess again. I am not a Sunda pangolin with scales of keratin like fingernails. They don't increase your potency. Think closer to home. Guess again. I am not a Mediterranean monk seal. The Romans nearly wiped them out. Now their descendants crowd out seal descendants. Closer still. Guess again. I am not a natterjack toad, bleeping to oblivion from Spalding to King's Lynn. Even with 150,000 eggs, fewer reach toadhood each year. Smaller. Guess again. I am the bearded false darkling beetle from dead wood and oak trees. The new forest is getting old now. How long before we all scuttle off? Guess.
My name is Duncan Forbes. The poem is Self-Knowledge. Know yourself and what it's for. Nobody else unlocks the door. Know yourself and its address. It is a dwelling, not a guess. Forget old selves and what they knew. They were a point of view. Know the selves that others make of you yourself for others' sake. Know the self you're talking to, the single I and plural you. Believe yourself to be unique, and let that self-made being speak.
I'm going to read Gars All Through by Janet Hatherley. I sit in assembly, green in a sea of blue, waiting for my uniform grant to come through. I've moved from up north, for weeks I'm cut loose, an alien body, a transplant through and through. It's so hard to fit in. I want to make friends, but I can't. A wild, sensitive plant. How to pull through? My dad's at home. He's elderly, ill, not able to work. A repetitive chant he's put through. No money for new clothes or shoes. We rely on the thrift shop. Looked at aslant, walk on through. I can't wear that jumper. A perfectly good one. It's red. Not navy, from my aunt. You're joking, I'm through. It arrives. One uniform lasts 5 years. The skirt becomes shorter and shorter. Exultant. I, Jan, break through.
Love in the Electronic Age by Stuart Forte. When all the world's gone digital and life's a database, I'll gaze into your pixel eyes set in your smiley face and wish for all the times when we made errors trying to prove we didn't need a double click to make the mountains move. When every hour's a cyber game with levels of pointless skill, I'll take your joystick hand in mine and pledge to hold you still. Then dance with you, as once we danced before the beeps ordained, where we would place our feet and where we'd lift them up again. When everything's a 3D screen and mine's become a cell, which has to be unticked or not to make the day go well, then I'll upload the little bits of love I've kept in store to remind us of how we used to be, human to the core.
Cultural influence, how it shapes an identity. Where we're born, the culture in which we are born, the people we meet may be seen to play a strong part in helping shape our sense of identity, giving us a sense of belonging. Let's listen to Taproot by Anne Keeley, The Old House by Sue Prophet, read by Naomi Pink, Voices by Tricia Bloomfield, Riding Tandem by Tony Trafford, Our Cat Walked Through Their Backyard by Patricia Camish, and A Piece of Shrapnel by Valerie Purser.
Hello, I'm Anne Keeley and I'm reading Taproot. We are of land, seed, grass, of deep-rooted tree, of stubborn grit of stone, the long walk home, of the turning coil of earth, of crow, cobmare, corn, of barn, sweet-seeded hay, wild cats and loyal dogs, of guns and worrying sheep, of sheaves, shears, and the easy scything of long orchard grass, of dead turkeys hung like pillow slips on the line, of plucking and drawing and gizzards and dirty yellow claws, of frozen mornings in the parlour, the wide flanks of Frisians, steaming breath and the slow chewing of cud, of yellow piss and slopping pats of dung, of milk churns cooling, of running barefoot through the plats, of raising billowing clouds of tiny moths, of picnics, flagons of cider, songs and stories by candlelight, of clearing stones, bucket by bucket, from Homefield, lugging them to gateways, of bruised and blistered hands ingrained with soil, of knee-deep mud, of 4 acres white with mushrooms, and of the great weight of the axe, hefted up, swung down.
I'm going to read The Old House by Sue Prophet. We returned to the old house, my mother and I, years ago. I don't know how many years. The house was almost demolished, but the corridor, like a dissected spine, was still intact. Picking our way through rubble, bags of concrete, tools, I'm making this bit up, we walked down the corridor. This is the strange part. The wreckage evaporated, still there, but only faintly. Cork tiles warm beneath my bare feet, pattering up and down in my dressing gown. Big spiders lurk under cupboards down one side, and on the other are 3 bedrooms, mine at the end. I knock on the wall that divides my sister's breath from my own. Wait for her muffled reply. The lake gleams outside. The tree that escaped execution shifts in a breeze. We've stopped at a doorway that isn't, looked into what's vanished. This is how a ghost feels, I think. Forever hunting what's lost, the needy spirit clinging, conjuring like I conjure us now. My mother, not yet ill, not yet ashes, and me, just visible in the dead sunlight.
Good afternoon. I'm Tricia Broomfield, and this is Voices. Squishy parcels secured with string. Our names in black ink. Return address, as if we would. Handwritten, somewhere far away. Does she think I don't know how to feed you? Nan rants, as we fiddle with neat knots. Our mother's love needed in her rehab hideaway. It won't keep, Nan rants, sullenly cutting squashed slices. We butter it, spread thinly, roses, lime marmalade, and for a chew or two, we're home, sitting in the cool kitchen with a mum who knows which voice she is today. And all is well. Thank you.
I'm Tony Trafford, and this is Riding Tandem. We bought a tandem for the hell of it. We neither could afford a car, though I'd have rather had a hearse. Second-hand, they're cheap and none the worse. But no, she was having none. Wouldn't be seen dead in one. So, striking up steep Saddleworth Slope, we spent our 60s teenage years crunching through the tandem's gears. We rounded Penmanmawr Head in orange and purple, drop-dead colours decked, and flew the luxurious lie of level Lincolnshire's vast expanse. It was that fabled first romance. Then the parting of the ways, an end of riding tandem days. Well, that's how it goes. She, for a politician's wife, me, erratic freelance life. Our futures rolled in separate flows, but bound at length by memory. Tandem, or so the Wikipedia shows. Late at night, the Google hit 5 decades on was quite explicit. He stepped down to nurse his wife. How could I not have known? We weren't in touch that much through life, but her already 3 years dead. It's only shock, I know, too long ago for grief, too neat. Yet always now the sense somehow, somewhere behind me, an empty seat.
Good afternoon. My name is Patricia Camish, an old surname from the northeast Yorkshire coast. My poem, Our Cats Walk Through Their Backyard, draws on fishing family heritage. It includes the dialect word skeining, which is the process of baiting fishing hook lines with mussels, a miserable job, usually done by the women. Our cat walked through their backyard. I am a fisherman, no more, no less. I struggle for existence in cold, wet danger, flotsam on the flood. I identify with the sea, my community, and those already beneath the waves. Our cat walked through their backyard, Grandma used to say. She meant they were related to us somewhere along the way, way back. She doesn't know, even she wasn't sure how, and no one else remembers anymore. Everyone was related to us then, all fishing families crammed together, backyards full jammed, neat piled nets, and teetering towers of crab pots propped against the skeining sheds. The grey sea surged at the end of the street, supreme leveller, where east wind bit the skin from your face. Brothers, nephews, uncles, sons worked the boats, Viking pattern, clinkered cradles rocked on the tides and wrecked on the rocks. My sister's husband's cousin's father went off with us then, his backyard next to ours, close indeed for the cat. Family enough he was. When winter storms each year claimed lives of young and old and tore out the heart from the homes, we grieved as one. The sea that ripped us apart bound us together.
I'm Valerie Purcell, and my poem is A Piece of Shrapnel. In the loft, a battered metal box. Inside, the jumbled memories of a life. 3 tiny pencil drawings, faded, foxed. Death notices of siblings died in infancy. School reports from always late to promising. Indenture papers, 1931. A magnifying glass of ebony and bone. A single letter from your loving mum. A 6-penny programme from the Palladium. A Happy Christmas, Sweetheart card in padded satin. Receipt for a 3-piece suite, £13.15. A Home Guard badge, a petrol ration book, a mortgage offer for a wartime home, a ring to check the size of dahlia blooms, a dozen last tram tickets 1952. A crayoned card. To Grandad, thank you for my ball. And at the bottom, wrapped in cotton wool, the piece of shrapnel that misshaped a life.
Well done. It's really good to listen to the poems as well. Can I just say that I enjoyed, it's special hearing them read aloud, but I did enjoy reading all the entries, and there's so many good poems, and I hope all the poets take away with them a sense of achievement, because not all poets do that, really, surprisingly. And I remember my meeting once with Ted Hughes. There's a great poet. And I had lunch with Ted after judging a poetry competition for The Observer many years ago. It's in fact in 1989. And he just finished, his collection was published called Wolf Watching. Remember? And Wolf Watching was just out, and we were sitting opposite each other at the table, and there were empty plates waiting. He started saying, you know, I've got this book's out this week, and it's going to be getting reviewed. I know what's going to happen. I know what's going to happen. And he picked up a knife and fork. Someone's going to turn into it like it's a piece of raw meat, just, you know, kill it. And, you know, that's what they'll do with it, you know, Roger. And I wrote, surprise, I wrote this later on called Lunch with the Laureate. New collection published today, he said. Picking up a knife and fork, he tore into the imaginary book on the empty plate before him. And you can bet some young critic, eager to make a name for himself and thirsting for blood, is sitting down right now, sharpening his claws before turning it to pieces. But you're Ted Hughes, I thought. The Ted Hughes. Who would have the gall to attack a new collection of poems by you? But you're Ted Hughes, I said. Does it really matter what some jealous metropolitan would-be poet thinks or says? The main course arrives. Fox cutlets, stuffed crow, wolf brains. Unnerving, but delicious. The next group of poems looks at clashes between different groups of people, whether they're based on gender, regional differences, or race. We'll listen to Mr. and Mrs. and Ms. by Laura Frankena. You Don't Sound Like You're From Essex, read by Heather Montford. People in Shops by Joe Williams, read by Matthew Griffiths. And The Security Guard at Shopmore Says I Am a Thief by Jenny Mitchell.
I'm Laura Frankena. This is Mr. and Mrs. and Ms. When my brother gets married, he will be a Ms., my daughter announces at dinner. I explain that he will always be a Mr., even if he marries. You are a Miss until you marry, I tell her. And you either keep your surname and use Ms., or if you marry Mr. John Smith, you become Mrs. John Smith. Hello? May I please speak with Mrs. John Smith? This is met with much hilarity. Your brother will never be Mr. Jane Smith. Can you imagine? Hello, Mr. Jane Smith? Now they are all calling for Mr. Jane Smith, and their father leaves the table.
I'm reading a poem by Cindy Vincent. You don't sound like you're from Essex, you say, and I can tell you think that's a compliment. You're expecting stretched vowels and dropped consonants. But I'm passing for something more upmarket, and my glottal stops stop this side of the marshes. You listen for the echoes of some bleak stiletto heaven, and the old jokes wait at the lights, their engines revving. Boy racers giving chase to girls in bright paint, so eager to win, but they always arrive late. You see, I hear home in a darling with a jade dropped at me feet. I'm every old lady's sweetheart when I walk back down them streets. I hear it in a gently served jest lobbed back with a thwack, in old Fords with wedding day tin cans tacked to the back, in bike wheels singing like crickets in the tall grass, or laughter swelling for a scrawled-on underpass. I hear it as folk bands compete with boat masts along the Thames, and while spinning fast on the last train from London to Southend. It sounds in Morris bells as seagulls squall above. It sounds like the voices of the people I love.
This is People in Shops by Jo Williams. Why do you do that? She says. Do what? You always talk to people in shops. It's embarrassing. That's what people do. They talk to each other. It's normal. Bollocks, she said. It's fucking weird. It's a northern thing, I mutter. You wouldn't understand. We walk on without another word, knowing we need to visit one more shop. There the silence is maintained, hers as a seething dare, mine in an effort to prove my point, waiting for the voice that will seal my victory. At the counter, I can taste the tension, silently urge the Saturday girl to say something, anything more than £1.80, please. Since then, she's got used to our northern ways, might smile at a stranger as they pass on the pavement. And if you're very lucky, you can sometimes catch her calling someone love. But it's still the old accent, and she never, ever talks to people in shops.
Hello, my name's Jenny Mitchell, and I'm going to read The Security Guard at Shopmore Says I Am a Thief. Grabs me from behind, rams against my back, eyes brimming from his lids, saliva next to drool, except I stop, throw down my bags, tell him to search. He plunges elbows deep. Nothing has been stolen. Still he shouts, "You're a thief. I saw you yesterday." My voice lies under his. How dare you put your hands on me? He prowls to show his uniform has a cock inside. There is rape, Hardbody says. You're up against a wall. I tell him to move back. He bawls, "This woman is a thief." My voice is a loud hailer. "Liar, don't tell lies." His voice is war. "Call the police. We'll have her sectioned." Did you forget to see I'm black? 4 times as likely to be held. Women trapped behind the tills, sleepwalking down the aisles, look up to watch my madness, led away in chains. Defy or die, my motto, I stand firm, demand that he apologizes. War looks down, offers me a cigarette, no word of a lie. A pack of 10 appears, like a pipe of peace. He slurs, "Sorry if." I know it's time to leave. Fake smile and medal on my face. Sorry is surrender in abuse. I swagger, even though it's false. Set off an alarm in war. He tries to show me rape again. I dodge his growl. Leave the battlefield. Cry on my way home.
Leave stage clutching book. Good. Thanks, Jenny. Lovely. Before the interval, national identity. Just as community or regional differences impact on our self-being, so does national identity. This can, in some instances, have a positive impact, but it can also be destructive, as we'll hear. By Grand Army Plaza, The Die Was Cast by Laura Frankiner, welcome back. Island by Livy Sutherland. A Russian Woman Folds Towels by, welcome back, Simon Williams. 1998 by Mark Totterdell, read by Naomi Pink. And Reclaim the Name by David Blemin, read by Matthew Griffiths. And Hazal, voices by Audrey Arden-Jones.
I'm Laura Frankiner, and my poem is By Grand Army Plaza, The Die Was Cast. Apropos of nothing, outside her central London nursery, my daughter asks, "What language do they speak in your country?" Once I walked with her father alongside Prospect Park, where on a perfect summer day I lay on the grass until dusk and mosquitoes, reading Baldwin. We rounded Grand Army Plaza, where I ushered in a new millennium as fireworks lit the triumphal arch, then past the Art Deco Central Library, where I would emerge with Mailer, Didion, and Capote. On Eastern Parkway, hundreds of white address labels littered the sidewalk, "Kill all Muslims," handwritten on each in permanent marker. We slowly proceeded to the Brooklyn Museum, while my future husband tore up every single one of them, trailing malevolent confetti in our wake.
My name's Livy Sutherland, and this poem is called Island. This is an island that knows itself a speck, thinks itself a nation. This is an island whose sea-girt sides crash with crests as strange and dry as simulation. This is an island of islands that wrecks itself on pride, that thrills itself on pain, that builds itself in boxes to a sky of sour frustration. This is an island where the truth creeps like rot on every wall and mocks my straining speech, stymied by the jealous call of those who peddle poison sweetly, more mad than unmannerly. This is an island of tweets and subtweets, of cannily worded war that falls on its own sword, with artful shrieks, to wild applause, each time the notion starts to dawn that there might be a better form of being an island.
Simon Williams. A Russian Woman Folds Towels. If I lived in a tenement in Grozny, I would have some sympathy. If she were washing laundry for a 2-star hotel, hanging it high over the alley and folding it at night while singing a folk song, always the same folk song, stolen from a hamlet near Kiev, I would cotton wool my ears, apply extra grit to my teeth, and try to sleep. But as it is, I live in a cottage on a lane in a small village in South Devon, and it looks like victimization. She sets up her ironing board, opens an ottoman of towels. She folds and sings till the cock crows and the goose screams in indignation. Why are geese always indignant? I believe it's a case of mistaken identity, something the FSB has got wrong. Either that, or they want the microfilm back.
I'm going to read 1998 by Mark Totterdell. The warmth of the people, the luminous landscapes, both sides of the border, the size of the breakfasts, the bright painted curbstones. The news of, the news of, the news of, the news of the shock on their faces, the shock on their faces. The news of, the news of, the news of, the news of the bright painted curbstones. The size of the breakfasts, both sides of the border. The luminous landscapes, the warmth of the people.
This is Reclaim the Name by David Blayman. 5 perfect smoke rings scudding out the door. Granny is coughing and shouts to the wall, "Adolf, I want a glass of water." "Gretel, I'm coming," sounds soft down the hall. I was 5 years old. What's in a name? Franz and Josef topped the list of names for boys where grandfather was born. In that empire of the nationalities, he learned to master many tongues. German at high school in Lemberg, Hebrew in his grandpa's shul in the shtetl, Yiddish with the girls in mama's kitchen, Polish bringing in the harvest on father's farm, and facing pistols in the pogrom spoil, Russian as the land changed hands, English for banking and exile in Cape Town, patrolling on Boys Drive above the cliffs, scanning the ocean for U-boats. No grandson now can bear your name of shame, but here you are in uniform, stooped and proud, the only Jewish Adolf in the Wiesenberg Home Guard.
Hazal, voices. I'm tentative like a child on the edge of a precipice, seeking lost voices. Voices of a family never mentioned by my Polish mother, hidden voices. At times, we think about the past, the need to know. To live is to breathe is to be who we are, understand truths of our inner voices. Mother hid her Jewish ancestry, hid her first marriage. She chose to leave her other life, remarry our English father in a mass of Latin voices. I source names, find missing grandparents, Wolf and Sarah, names to receive along others, Marcel, Rosia and Laura, siblings, unheard voices. I imagine Lvov's freeze in World War II, snow falling, the way whiteness deceives the innocent. Fallen bodies covered in snowflakes, silenced voices. I feel the aura of angel ghosts slipping inside myself and know I believe in other worlds. I listen to the way the wind sings in whispered voices.
Thank you all. Because when as judges, when you're judging the poems, you don't see any names. It's all numbers. You know, you read the poem and there's a number you don't know until this afternoon. Come here and I recognize some of the faces. I put the faces to the poems, like Simon. You know Simon, who's a gauche 17-year-old, Loughborough University. I was a gauche 14-year-old. No, that wasn't it. Yeah. On university, and Audrey, our last reader, who I've met many times on poetry workshops, which I've run occasionally, and I do recommend creative poetry workshops. They're great fun. They can be fun. And in fact, I'm off to Crete at the end of the month to run one there, but a bit far to go, a bit late. A bit nearer home, I'm running some in Barnes. If anyone's interested in signing up for a poetry workshop, it can be fun. And details are out on the table downstairs with your anthologies. Now, time for music, kids. I don't know if you will remember, probably too young to remember the 70s. Aren't you? Yeah, well, these three lads do. Days of brown ale, half-day closing, discos, platform shoes, flared trousers, blue nun, and decimal currency. Well, Ian Lee Dolphin, Richard Gleave, and Martin Plum consist to make up French Lessons. That's the name of the band. They're performing the first three songs from their albums, A Stop in Time and Sunday Morning Drivers. I'll see you after the interval. Lads, take it away.
Thank you, Roger. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. We're just going to play one song now, and it's in memory of my mum and dad, Alice and Alf, who lived in Ashford in Middlesex, which is just sort of 3 stops along from the Twickenham station, you know, if the trains were running. And the key thing about Ashford, they lived there 60 years, and virtually every Saturday, certainly for 50 of those years, they went to Staines. I don't know if many of you know Staines, just next to Ashford. And so every Saturday morning they go to the department stores, Debenhams, Johnson and Clark's, and also to the marketplace, which was in front of the town hall. And I wrote a song about the marketplace and some of those times when my mum was a big fan of sales. So this is called Last Sale Day.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
It's the last sale day of a Saturday. Watch where you're walking, who do you think you're pushing? A quick brown ale, then it's back again, throwing your money away. Can I bring it back if it doesn't fit? Of course you can, darling, ask for Ian Dolphin, browse around to your heart's content, or at least till your money is spent. We don't want to stitch you up, just trying to make an honest bob or two. If you don't like what you see out front, or maybe there's something out back. Run a car on a yellow line, so you watch for the warden, you don't get no one, and the car park's full by 9:30 on a Saturday sale day. Oh, bargains galore in every store. You push and pull your trolley, you're blowing all your lolly. 30 bob on the 10 to 4, and the Fulham down for a draw. We don't want to stitch you up, trying to make an honest bob or two. If you don't like what you see out front, maybe there's something out back. It's the last sale day of a Saturday. Watch where you're walking, who do you think you're pushing? A quick brown ale, then it's back again, throwing your money away. Thank you.
Poem called Anybody There? There are times when I feel I'm not real, not made out of flesh but thin air, surrounded by friends who don't notice, listen, or let alone care. When I told my therapist this morning, she turned and said, "Anybody there?" Which leads into, who am I? Now, these 5 poets experience a level of confusion about who they are, brought about by measuring themselves against social and or psychiatric norms. So we're going to hear Identity Deficit by Ezekiel Foster Ardley, read by Naomi Pink. No Wonder by Claudia Court, read by Heather Munford. Myers-Briggs Psychometry Test by Roger Kilpatrick, read by Matthew Griffiths. I Don't Know Who I Am, I Know Who I Am, by Molly Turley. And The Art of Conversation by Claire Collins.
I'm going to read Identity Deficit by Ezekiel Foster Ardley. My mind's eye is sunblind. I roll it back to find my self-image is nothing but a collection of shapes, barely tangible through a hailstorm of should-bes and deep, dark fears. Every day, I wake up someone new, yet still wearing the same clothes, stitched with my concrete controversies. I get out of bed and rehearse the script, build up my character, and wait for the curtain to drop. But the moment I see another human being, I forget my lines, and I'm someone new again.
I'm reading a poem by Claudia Court. Keep off the grass, mind the gap. No parking, no waiting, no smoking, no drinking, no cycling, no pushchairs, no ball games, no running, no right turn, no left turn, no pedestrians, no dogs, no children, know thyself.
This is a poem called Myers-Briggs Psychometric Test, and it's written by Roger Kirkpatrick. I knew who I was, but now that I've been tested, what the fuck am I?
Molly Turley, I don't know who I am / I know who I am. I don't know who I am. You can never make me think that I, myself, am enough. Now I know I do not have an identity and I am no one. So I refuse to believe that I have confidence in myself. I am not worth anything, and I'll never be able to say that I know who I am. I know who I am, and I will never be able to say that I am not worth anything. I have confidence in myself, so I refuse to believe that I am no one and I do not have an identity. Now I know I, myself, am enough. You can never make me think that I don't know who I am.
The Art of Conversation. Let me not be the hostage taker who can't cut a long story short. The one who drones on and on about missed connections and their significance, and makes you late for weddings and won't take a hint even when you make, "Oh, that must have been awful," noises as your phone fizzes with texts. Or the oversharer who pins you between her and the steamed up window. She's describing her medical procedures to you now in a too loud voice and too much detail as other passengers avoid eye contact. Let me be like the Tulse Hill barber who, when my hair began to go like a blown dandelion clock, shaved me with dignity and a close razor, then held up a mirror and showed me something I'd never seen before, the back of my own scalp. "You have a good-shaped head," he said to my reflection.
person behind the mask. At times clear, sometimes not so clear. The real identity of a person is not disclosed. Does the outside person always reveal evidence of the real person? Beneath is the focus of this set of poems. We're going to listen to The Earl of Oxford Outed by David Patterson. Brad from Joe Soap's Hand Car Wash by Roger Elkin, read by Keith Waite. Is You Is by Simon Tyndale. And Self-Portrait 1503 by Stuart Forty, read by Naomi Pink.
David Patterson, the Earl of Oxford Outed. Oi, posh boy, we know you wrote the plays. Although you crept onto our bawdy stage in the pelt of Shakespeare, Stratford gent, like some base, two-faced, high-profile trick with fake identity into the stews, we were not fooled. We knew your touch, you prick. It doesn't change our reading of the text or vitiate the Shakespeare birthplace trust, though they want to look that last word up. The RSC need not remouth one particle of spit discharged in honour of your surrogate. You're both intact. We're the damaged article. Your children are diminished by this fraud. Biology demands to know its dad. Without a body, there's no hearth for grief, no consent where bedfellows aren't true. The folio is willful misdirection. The finger of suspicion points at you. Was it easier to work behind a curtain? Was parturition difficult alone? When you put your babes up for adoption, did it hurt or heal to let them go? Weren't you enraged to see your fame accruing to another? Come on, we want to know. Pardon, gentles, if we have offended, but anyone may hammer out blank verse, weave speculative nests from stolen scraps of learning, surcharge the sense, pontificate, let synecdoche do half the work and break the bad news straight. The genius you find in it is a reflection of your own conceit. Go to then, outshake me. It's all a tempest in a cup of tea.
Brad from Joe Soap's Hand Car Wash, written by Roger Elkin. Can't be 20, but already looks wrecked, as if, after a late night, hasn't had chance to reclaim himself, but gets up, wrestling with joggers and tops. The Joe Soap's logo in blue gold on black, straddling his back and chest, so he no longer belongs to himself. Downstairs, swigs a swill of milk with Rizzler spliff, then shifts outside and, second fag cup in his hand, stands flagging down his lift to work. His day, 8:30 to 6, marked out by the yards of cars, tainted with brocades of road dust and rain specks. What does Brad demand from life? Some souped-up job like the one his son Sud's in red, soft top, silver trim, waxed wheels. Or dreams of being whisked away from this corrugated shed, its trip of hose, the spraying and some dude he can scrub himself up for. But he can't rid himself of this litany of suds and sponge, this routine of cleaning done with a half smile. And without thinking he's got it down to a fine art. The soaping, spraying, hosing, rinsing, washing, buffing, topping off with the soft caress of a cloth. Swipe, wipe, and a "That's you done" shrug. Just £4. See ya. Ta.
Hi, I'm Simon Tyndale. Is you is. Izzy Khan, Izzy went from rising star to top banana in the city. Got so far by showing no pity when climbing up the corporate tree, then branching out in property. Impossible to stop was the inimitable Izzy Khan. Izzy Khan, they can't work out who you are. All you dosh and somewhat dizzy, then for posh and rather prissy. Easier being someone else than having to reveal yourself, locked away inside your shell, invisible Izzy Khan. Izzy Khan, prone to mood swings and self-harm. When your brain gets wide and busy, dull the pain with something fizzy. Sharpen your Swiss Army knife and carve your arm in tiger stripes. Been a tiger all your life, Isabel Shia Khan. Izzy Khan, you fought so hard, don't cover up your battle scars. Lower your guard for just a minute. The world's much better with you in it. You have to trust them just a smidgen. You're a hole that they can't pigeon. You might start a whole religion. Invincible Izzy Khan.
I'm going to read Self-Portrait 1503 by Stuart 40. We set about our marriage joined in hope. I brought my name, Francesco brought his wealth. At 15, I was ripe to be myself, while he'd been married twice, so knew the ropes. And all went well. 3 children, our own roof in Florence, till he said he'd grant a wish for love of me, as if love weren't enough. And I asked for a portrait done from life. The painter was agreeable, brought me wine and cake, then settled me aslant a stool, began to measure me in paint upon a wooden panel, laid down lines to build on. Look straight at me, he said. I did, and I was lost. He held me fast with his steady gaze. My soul expanded as he dressed me anew. The hair on my head grew wavy and long, my fear reduced with every lick of his silken brush. I love you for your beauty. I blushed and gave a tiny smile before I noticed it was the picture he was speaking to. I stole a look. I was more dignified than real, and somewhere about the eyes, he was a part of me. 1 became 2. Heartened by love, he went back on the sale, kept me for himself, returned Francesco's florins, and later took me with him out of Florence. And what he did with me, I cannot say. Who looks at me now? Married life is hard, my husband harder, while I have nearly faded, like fugitive colours into darkest shade. Every night, I dream of Leonardo.
Action and self-expression. As I said earlier, I very much enjoyed reading all the poems. I really did. To me, everyone was a winner. They're all very good. The difficulty came for me is in choosing, first, second, third, commended, that sort of thing. I found that very difficult because I'm not a critic. I would suddenly feel, don't like it. They're all good, and it's a matter of, it's very difficult. And I'm not a critic, I know that. Now, I may have a CBE, a professorship, and 7 honorary doctorates, but I'm not qualified. And that's, you've got to be qualified, you see, to do that. Now, here's a poem about that lack of confidence. It's called On Good Authority. The thing is, what I think I was looking for all the time was most of the poems appealed to me in the way that I knew what they were about, where they're coming from, that language was all the language that and the ideas I think that I could comprehend in a sense and take it from there, and what worked, what didn't work. It's quite complicated, isn't it? What we like, what we don't like, which we prefer. Anyway, there's the poem. On good authority. Forgive me if I do not understand many of your poems. In fact, any of them. This grieves me. For I'm told on good authority that they achieve the rich complexity of actuality, and that you are a poet whose images flaunt their energy, leaping and flashing like so many salmon. That not only are you confident in melding myth with redemptive ambiguity, but that your torch illumines our curiosity. The fault then must surely lie with me, for I lack the energy, confidence and curiosity to scale the daunting college walls surrounding your complex actuality. Without a torch, I would lose my way, and in the melding myth of language, either drown in a river of leaping salmon or fall into the pit of redemptive ambiguity. Forgive me. This section is not so much about hiding behind a mask, but it's about the person becoming so engrossed in their artistic action or scientific field of study that they become as one with it. So let's listen to 6 Suits by Joe Williams, read by Keith Waite. The Flamenco Dancer by Vera Meister. Introducing the Band by Joe Williams, read by Matthew Griffiths. Soul Chord by Simon Tyndale, read by Naomi Pink. And Painting the Town by Trevor Beeden.
Six Suits, written by Joe Williams. It's what Einstein did, they say. 6 suits, all identical, to free his brilliant mind from the drudgery of choice. Allow it space and time, the theory of general relativity, the photoelectric effect. For me, it's black t-shirt, jeans. The Nobel Prize is surely just a matter of time. Though time, as we know, thanks to 6 grey suits, is not an absolute, but relative to the observer's motion in space.
Vera Meister, the flamenco dancer. The flamenco dancer with haughty stance stands poised, waiting to begin the dance. Held by a comb, drawn back so tight, her hair is sleek and black as night. The gypsy guitar starts to play. She moves her hips, begins to sway, and taps a rhythm, soft at first, then harder, till you think she'll burst right through the floor into the street. The dancer whirls and stamps her feet. Clickety, clackety, clickety, clackety, clack. Holds up her skirts, moves sideways, forwards, back. She claps her hands, a counter rhythm found. Machine gun bursts of wild staccato sound. Of shoes that move across the polished floor. The crowd, ecstatic, bellows out for more. She shakes her flounces, twirls and stamps. Her eyes, they burn like coal-black lamps. Her face, a mask of pain and ire. She'll dance until her shoes catch fire. Her moving feet become a blur. The dance has taken over her. Then, passion spent, her shoulders slack, she goes and never once looks back.
Introducing the Band by Joe Williams. On drums, it's the legendary Leon Parry. What can I say about Leon that you don't already know? He's played with the greats, the not-so-greats, and just about everybody in between. There can't be many left out there who've been on a stage without ever sharing one with Leon. On the upright bass, welcome Al McRae, baby of the band at 45, and he'll use that to his advantage at every opportunity he gets. It's not just wooden necks those fingers like to stroke. But remember, ladies, you might want to think about 3 ex-wives before it goes too far. On guitar, here's Mick the Wizard Windsor. Never seen without his plank of wood. I swear it must be nailed to him. I've seen him play a solo in his sleep, no word of a lie. Don't expect him to dip his hands in his pockets, though. They're never off the strings for long enough. On piano, the enigma that is Nikos Stefanidis. And with Nikos, your guess is as good as mine. Where does he live? Is he married? Kids? We have absolutely no idea. But if you want to stick around for a chat and a beer after the show, forget it. He'll have left the building by the time the applause has faded. On tenor sax, let's hear it for Lou Stanley. Keep blowing that horn, Stan, while you still can. 68, but doesn't look a day over 90. He's sober now, he says, except for gig nights, that is. We've only got 5 this week. Let's see if he can make it. And me? Well, I think the less said about me, the better. Hit it.
Simon Tyndale, Soul Chord. I don't belong with white-collar, redneck, bluegrass folk. I'm a soul chord, a heartache. I'm F-sharp major 7, for God's sake. Play me alone or before C-sharp 11 with a suspended 4th. Black notes resonate more. Soul chords like warm butter dripping through cotton candy, and that's just the bass. Back in the day, harmonic sophistication gave way to oversimplification. It's economy, not art, that drives the chart. So if you're tired of 2-bit ditties written by committees, come to Basin Street, meet the hardcore, a bunch of outlawed soul chords that don't get around much anymore.
My name's Trevor Breeden, and this poem is called Painting the Town. I'm no tagger, scribbler, or scrawler. I don't daub walls and bridges in the dead of night, or climb onto ledges behind security lights to slap slogans in train sidings or dingy underpasses. Don't write me off as one of the underclass. I'm electric blue and sunrise yellow, mystic green and spray glow tan. I'm the dizzy smell of chemicals in the rattleball can. I don't do black. This town's mourned itself for too long. It's a dump, but I love it. It's where I belong. A landscape, seascape, a charismatic face. I give new life to shopfront shutters to brighten up the bloody place. I've done a hockney for a cockney geezer outside number 24, opposite my Mona Lisa on the hardware store door. Jenny at the charity shop wanted a window of psychedelia. George, the struggling grocer, chose Millet's floating Ophelia. The undertaker went for Turner, the betting shop Picasso's clown. The laughing cavalier? No fear, this is a Roundhead town. I've done Monets and Manets, Francis Bacon's and Lucian Freud's, Dali's and Da Vinci's, and that's just the boys. I've done Frida Kahlo's and Tracy Emin's, Georgia O'Keeffe's and Louise Bourgeois, Bridget Riley's and Paula Rego's, every one of them a star. I've copied everything from Botticelli right down to Beryl Cook. They all inspire me equally. Don't agree? Feel free. I don't give a damn. Now the high street is buzzing like the Tatum National. They say I brought culture to the masses, but all the masses wanted was a chance to be a part of a world that isn't miserable, and that world's the world of art. I'm purple mist, deep crimson red, and all the colours of Cézanne. I'm the dizzy smell of chemicals in the rattleball can. I don't do black. This town's mourned itself for too long. It's a dump, but I love it. It's where I belong.
Hi, coming towards the end now, and be final 5 poems before we announce the winners and ask the winners and the commended to come up and read their winning poems. Because even though I've heard them before. Be nice, I think, to hear them again in the context. Finally, loss of self. This set looks at the loss of memory, bringing about a crisis in a person's sense of self. We're going to hear Identity Crisis by Simon Smails, read by Keith Waite. Remember Me by Dorinda Ann McDowell, read by Heather Montford. Doing Time by Claudia Court, read by Naomi Pink. Bernard by David Pratt, read by Keith Waite. And Becoming a Statue in Commemoration of Yourself by David Mark Williams, read by Matthew Griffiths.
Identity Crisis, written by Sim Smails. I've forgotten my own blooming name, for reasons I cannot explain. Perhaps it's a seizure, my age, or amnesia. Whatever it is, it's a pain. I've forgotten my own blooming name. Let's hope I find it again. When your mind's on the blink, it's not easy to think. And there's only one person to blame. I've forgotten my own blooming name. Am I Richard? Or could I be Jane? Perhaps I'm transgender. I just don't remember. From now on, just call me insane.
This is a poem by Dorinda Ann McDowell called Remember Me. It's Josie, isn't it? Remember me? Rita Riley as was. Well, the fun we had when we were young and daft, going into all them coffee bars. Everything was a right laugh. Mrs. Porter, that's me. Yeah, second one on the way. I remember you from last time. You had to drag the gas and away from me. Dear God, the pain. Yet here I am, doing it all again. It's a laugh, isn't it? I don't know this room. Who are all these old people, all staring at me? Is this my room? I don't like the curtains. Is my Jimmy here? Oh, yes, I remember. We buried him. Was it last year? Any chance of a cup of tea? Oops, almost spilled it then. What a butterfingers. Good job it wasn't the best china. Yeah, I'm a rat laugh, me. Me? I'm Rita Riley as was, just as daft as I was when I was 16. Rita Riley as was. Still is, a bit. This woman who'd lived, this Rita Riley as was, a bit of this, a bit of that, blending to create a glorious whole.
I'm going to read Doing Time by Claudia Court. Through door after door, the nurse sweeps us along to your room. You sit in an armchair, unshaven, silent, grey. But for the Panama hat still rammed defiantly on your unruly head, and the red braces anchoring those trousers, your flamboyance in this dreary place. We've brought photos, tales to tell and retell, our faces, ourselves. You cannot be reached. We prepare to leave throw you a last prompt. The first words of a poem you learned at school. A faint smile flickers as you whisper line after line, alive with forgotten fluency.
Bernard, written by David Pratt. Bernard knows where to draw the line and where not, with a straight rack of pens. His fingers, thick as bolts, conjure up plans, new parts for steam engines. Seen through old round rims, a chiselled face supports black hair, rust-dyed. Arching over his drawing board, symmetrical shoulders bear the weight of precision and the unspoken knowledge that a clock ticks and that each eye grows dim.
Becoming a Statue in Commemoration of Yourself by David Mark Williams. When it falls apart, there's always this, standing still all that's required of you, keeping steady on the carved footprints. Begin to sparse your breath until it slows to stone and your brain is a stone brain running down. The world you stepped out of, a furious spinning, squalls of instants flung like gutted umbrellas. No gravitas will accrue. Soon enough you'll be speckled with lichen, martyred with bird shit, sport the crown of a traffic cone, be the backdrop for endless selfies. You'll suffer it all stoically. You've had plenty of practice, waiting in bus shelters, at train stations, outside shops of too many choices, standing scarecrow in a field of grain, willing time to die. But now at last you found an endless patience, secure in granite, knowing this is who you were, how you will be remembered.
Yes. Lots of applause there for the poets and for the readers who really did justice to the poems. Thank you very much. Just like to give thanks to a quick thought of how lucky we are, really, in some ways. So many good poets this afternoon. Poems. It was a really wonderful experience. I really enjoyed it. Makes you remind myself why you do it, why I do it. And our thanks to Richmond and the Arts Council here, the people involved in what they do. We're very lucky, in Richmond and the area. So many people giving up their time and work. Those who do it professionally and those who just do it for the love of the community and for the sake of the arts. And we're very lucky, and I'm so humbled and delighted to be part of that. I mean that. Now you've heard all the. Do you know the winners, by the way? Do you all know who won? The poets themselves. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Pardon? Oh no, I was all worked up then. Oh, you got music? Sorry, lads. It's time now. It's getting working up. Wait, no, it's good. No, it's good to have a break. The music stops me getting too excited. French lessons, please, lads. Please, bit of music, and then I'll give you the winners. Thank you. Thanks for that.
Just one of those terrible moments then when I thought, that's it, we're off. Yeah.
Certainly one of those terrible moments when you realise, when you get to our age, that your eyes take in about 50% of light that they used to. And then when you suddenly, it's not one of the questions you think you want to ask, but when you realise, don't pick up your dark guitar with your dark lead in the dark amplifier and you look and all you see is nothing. But hopefully...
He doesn't get out much. This next song, I went to St Mary's back in the 70s, and as some of you know, St Mary's was certainly then primarily a teacher training college, so I knew a lot of people who were training to become teachers, and it was a life of late nights and lying in bed of a morning, and I wrote this song about that time.
1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3,
4. Student teacher, oh, she dominant feature. Daytime sleeping, nighttime living. Move a little bit, move a little bit, move a bit closer, closer. Move a little bit, move a little bit, move a bit closer, closer. You can see now, to a degree now, what it's all about. I've fallen in love with you. I've fallen in love with you. Student teacher, oh, she dominant feature. Daytime sleeping, nighttime living. I said move a little bit, move a little bit, move a bit closer, closer. Oh, move a little bit, move a little bit, move a bit closer, closer. You can see now, to a degree now, what it's all about. I've fallen in love with you. I've fallen in love with you. Closer, closer. Move a little bit, move a little bit, move a bit closer, closer. Move a little bit, move a little bit, move a bit closer, closer. Move a little bit, move a little bit, move a bit closer, closer. Thank you. Right. I played that very well, but you wouldn't have noticed. That sounds better, doesn't it?
I can hear you.
That was that terrible moment. I thought, I can't hear myself, but I'll just keep going. Right. Okay, Martin.
Do introductions?
I can't remember. We haven't met for 2 years, so yeah.
I can't remember that. Who are you? But we do know who we are, just. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4.
I was standing one night in one of those trendy discos with drinks of 90p a time, when I caught outside of this little darling, just touching against my arm. Well, I looked and I looked away, never know just what to say. So I turned and smiled and I took her arm and we danced the night away. But I felt real good, and I felt real fine. Later on, while her eyes were shining, I made that little girl mine. Well, she told me later she had a lover, said she had a boyfriend too. There was the man next door and a boss at work. I came about 6th in line. Or was it 7th? Well, that started me on thinking just what a fool I was. Well, I'd probably get hurt, I would probably get burned. I wasn't playing around with fire. But I felt real good, and I felt real fine. So every week I meet her at a disco and we have a good time. And I felt real good, and I felt real fine. Yes, I felt real good, real fine. Oh, real good, real fine. Oh, hey, hey, hey. Oh, oh, hey, hey, hey. Oh, oh, oh. Thank you. I meant to say at the start of that, I hated discos, but in the 70s, that's always, to meet girls, that's where you went to discos. And I used to come with my mates to here in Twickenham to the Bird's Nest, which is obviously no longer here, and Cheeky Pete's, and also the Orchid Ballroom in Parry. So, but I forgot that bit based on the...
And drinks were 90p a time.
Where drinks were 90p a time.
And that was expensive.
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, it went up from 50p. Originally, I wrote it with 50p, and inflation pushed it up to 90p. Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, lads. Great stuff. Right now, is the part where I read out the list of first, second, third, and commendations. And we have 2 commendations. I'd like to begin with that, if I may. 2 poems that didn't, you want to go the top 5. Yeah, do you know what I find? This is interesting. I've done lots and lots of judging over the years. Andrew Motion, Caroline Duffy, lots of people, poetry review, and so forth and so on. And you get lots of poems, maybe 100 or 200, you read through them, all in different parts of the country. And you all turn up on the day with your 20 poems that you liked of all those poems. And they tend to be the same 20. It's funny, it's interesting, the same ones you all sort of like. You may disagree on which one wins or not. I just remember having a fight with Caroline Duffy one day because the poem I particularly liked, she didn't because it was about cricket. And she said, you can't have a poem about cricket. You can't give a prize to someone a bloody poem about cricket. But that's what happens. So the good poems tend to rise up in a way, and you all sort of agree. But the ones that you win, the winners, that's a different thing, and it's not to do with cricket. But there are 2 poems that I really loved in this, and the 2 commended poems which I would want to read, and the 2 were Painting the Town by Trevor Breeden. Trevor's here, which really, hi Trevor, which you just liked because it was full of vim and fun in colour. It's a lovely, colourful piece, good rhyming, and I wanted to get my graffiti can out and go out and do things. And so I'd like to hear that, Trevor, please. And also I'd like to hear Matthew Griffiths back reading the Stuart 40 poem, Love in Electronic Age. remember when he's reading that, you were one or two smiles in the audience. Can we hear those again, please? Please, yes, yes. Come on.
Shall I go first? Thank you, Roger. Thank you. Painting the town. I'm no tagger, scribbler, or scrawler. I don't daub walls and bridges in the dead of night, or climb onto ledges behind security lights to slap slogans in train sidings or dingy underpasses. Don't write me off as one of the underclass. I'm electric blue and sunrise yellow, mystic green and spray glow tan. I'm the dizzy smell of chemicals in the rattleball can. I don't do black. This town's mourned itself for too long. It's a dump, but I love it. It's where I belong. A landscape, seascape, a charismatic face. I give new life to shopfront shutters to brighten up the bloody place. I've done a hockney for a cockney geezer outside number 24, opposite my Mona Lisa on the hardware store door. Jenny at the charity shop wanted a window of psychedelia. George, the struggling grocer, chose Millet's floating Ophelia. The undertaker went for Turner, the betting shop Picasso's clown. The laughing cavalier? No fear, this is a roundhead town. I've done Monets and Manets, Francis Bacon's and Lucian Freud's, Dali's and Da Vinci's, and that's just the boys. I've done Frida Kahlo's and Tracy Emin's, Georgia O'Keeffe's and Louise Bourgeois, Bridget Riley's and Paula Rego's, every one of them a star. I've copied everything from Botticelli right down to Beryl Cook. They all inspire me equally. Don't agree? Feel free. I don't give a damn. Now the high street is buzzing like the Tate and National. They say I brought culture to the masses, but all the masses wanted was a chance to be a part of a world that isn't miserable, and that world's the world of art. I'm purple mist, deep crimson red, and all the colours of Cézanne. I'm the dizzy smell of chemicals in the rattleball can. I don't do black. This town's mourned itself for too long. It's a dump, but I love it. It's where I belong.
This is Love in the Electronic Age, and well done, Stuart Forte, who wrote this. When all the world's gone digital and life's a database, I'll gaze into your pixel eyes set in your smiley face and wish for all the times when we made errors trying to prove we didn't need a double click to make the mountains move. When every hour's a cyber game with levels of pointless skill, I'll take your joystick hand in mine and pledge to hold you still. Then dance with you as once we danced before the beeps ordained, where we would place our feet and where we'd pick them up again. When everything's a 3D screen and mine's become a cell, which has to be unticked or not to make the day go well, then I'll upload the little bits of love I've kept in store to remind us of how we used to be, human to the core.
And now it's time for gold, silver and bronze. And we have two bronzes. Two bronze medals. We didn't get one and cut it in half. We present two bronze medals to fine poems and poets. And they are Riding Tandem by Tony Trafford and Voices by Audrey Arden-Jones. Yes, thank you. Tony Trafford's poem Tandem, I like that really because it really, the rhyming was nice. It took you on this ride. Love poem. And then it was sad, but this sense of there's someone missing at the back on the back seat that appealed to me. And Voices by Audrey Arden-Jones is a very accomplished poet, and the poem about really finding that sense of where you came from, in a very well constructed way. So I'd like to hear, please, Riding Tandem and Voices.
Need a
drink of water first in that case. Gin next time, I think. We bought a Tandem for the hell of it. We neither could afford a car, though I'd have rather had a hearse. Second hand, they're cheap and none the worse. But no, she was having none. Wouldn't be seen dead in one. So, striking up steep Saddleworth slope, we spent our 60s teenage years crunching through the Tandem's gears. We rounded Penman ahead in orange and purple drop-dead colours decked, and flew the luxurious lie of level Lincolnshire's vast expanse. It was that fabled first romance. Then the parting of the ways and end of riding Tandem days. Well, that's how it goes. She for a politician's wife, me erratic freelance life. Our futures rolled in separate flows, but bound at length in memory. Tandem, or so the Wikipedia shows. Late at night, the Google hit 5 decades on was quite explicit. He stepped down to nurse his wife. How could I not have known? We weren't in touch that much through life, but her already 3 years dead. It's only shock, I know, too long ago for grief, too neat. Yet always now the sense somehow, somewhere behind me, an empty seat.
Ghazal, voices. I'm tentative like a child on the edge of a precipice, seeking lost voices. Voices of a family never mentioned by my Polish mother, hidden voices. At times we think about the past, the need to know. To live is to breathe is to be who we are, understand truths of our inner voices. Mother hid her Jewish ancestry, hid her first marriage. She chose to leave her other life, remarry our English father in a mass of Latin voices. I source names, find missing grandparents, Wolf and Sarah, names to receive alongside others, Marcel, Rosia and Laura, siblings, unheard voices. I imagine Lvov's freeze in World War II, snow falling, the way whiteness deceives the innocent. Fallen bodies covered in snowflakes, silenced voices. I feel the aura of angel ghosts slipping inside myself and know I believe in other worlds. I listen to way the wind sings in whispered voices. Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations. Our runner-up in this year's competition was actually a title that really appealed to me. A poem by David Mark Williams, who's not here this evening, I think. Is he not? No. It's called Becoming a Statue in Commemoration of Yourself. And here we are to listen to it. Matthew Griffiths, himself a fine poet. Matthew.
Becoming a statue in commemoration of yourself. And well done, David Mark Williams, for this entry. When it falls apart, there's always this. Standing still, all that's required of you, keeping steady on the carved footprints. Begin to sparse your breath until it slows to stone, and your brain is a stone brain running down. The world you stepped out of, a furious spinning, squalls of instants, flung like gutted umbrellas. No gravitas will accrue. Soon enough you'll be speckled with lichen, martyred with bird shit, sport the crown of a traffic cone, be the backdrop for endless selfies. You'll suffer it all stoically. You've had plenty of practice waiting in bus shelters, at train stations, outside shops of too many choices, standing scarecrow in a field of grain, willing time to die. But now at last you've found an endless patience, secure in granite, knowing this is who you were, how you will be remembered.
All the poets here today, and some on stage, some out there, really thank you for sending in your poems. And I, for one, just was so touched every time I read a poem. It moved me, in different ways. It really does, and it reminded me again why we do it and why it's important. So please, take away from it something that what you're doing is worthwhile doing. Keep doing it. Encourage others to do it. The winning poem, which appealed to me because I don't know, it was assured. It was sort of quite sophisticated. I liked the story of it. I always like poems that you can see what's happening in the poem. But that's just me. It's sort of poems I like. It's like watching a little film or something. You don't know what's going to happen, and you just watch it evolve, and it's beautiful. And it was a poem by one of the commended poets, Stuart 40, again. So here he is as the winner. And this one is Self-Portrait, 1503, by Stuart 40, read rather well, rather beautifully, by Naomi Pink. The winner, Self-Portrait, 1503. Naomi.
I'm going to read Self-Portrait 1503 by Stuart 40. We set about our marriage joined in hope. I brought my name, Francesco brought his wealth. At 15, I was ripe to be myself, while he'd been married twice, so knew the ropes. And all went well. 3 children, our own roof in Florence, till he said he'd grant a wish for love of me, as if love weren't enough. And I asked for a portrait done from life. The painter was agreeable, brought me wine and cake, then settled me aslant a stool, began to measure me in paint upon a wooden panel, laid down lines to build on. Look straight at me, he said. I did, and I was lost. He held me fast with his steady gaze. My soul expanded as he dressed me anew. The hair on my head grew wavy and long, my fear reduced with every lick of his silken brush. I love you for your beauty. I blushed and gave a tiny smile before I noticed it was the picture he was speaking to. I stole a look. I was more dignified than real, and somewhere about the eyes, he was a part of me. 1 became 2. Heartened by love, he went back on the sale, kept me for himself, returned Francesco's florins, later took me with him out of Florence, and what he did with me, I cannot say. Who looks at me now? Married life is hard, my husband harder, while I have nearly faded, like fugitive colours into darkest shade. Every night, I dream of Leonardo.
Stuart 40, not here. Stuart. Trevor. Right in tandem. Sorry, traffic. All right. Well done, sir. And third, for Voices Ghazal, Voices Audrey Arden-Jones. Second prize to becoming a statue in commemoration of yourself, David Mark Williams, becoming a disappearance, unfortunately. And our winner, Stuart 40. So we'll pass these on to our winners with your approval. Okay, thank you very much.
Great. Thank you, Roger. Congratulations to the winners and to all our poets and poems. What an incredible afternoon. I've never heard those before, and that really moving and so well delivered as well. Ladies and gentlemen, an event like this takes many months of planning, a lot of hard work and so many people involved. So we've got a few thank yous and acknowledgements to make, starting with Sir Vince, our joint presidents, Sir Vince and Lady Cable in the audience, our Deputy Mayor, Suzette Nicholson, Councillor Suzette Nicholson, and then our musicians this evening, French lessons, if you could show your appreciation for them again. Thanks, guys. The anthology design and typeset was by Sue Ribbons. Anthology editor, Matthew Griffiths. The producer was our very own Anne Warrington, whose brainchild this wonderful event is. Thank you. And our stage manager and event coordinator is the tireless and indefatigable Linda Hansel. As I mentioned earlier, this was a record level of entries for this is just the second year, 274. We have sifting judges, Matthew Griffiths again, Greg Freeman and Judith Lawton-Blakemore, who went through them all, and that was quite a job because the entries were all very, very high standards. So if you could show our appreciation for their big contribution. We'd, of course, like once again to thank the members of the Exchange staff, including up in the box, Lisette Barlow and Catherine Graham for all their support. This is the second event this year, and it's a wonderful new venue. Thank you. And then moving to my esteemed colleagues at Arts Richmond and the members of the Executive Committee for putting this event together, Anne, who I've already mentioned, Hilary Dodman and the literature team. Thank you. And then finally, the stewards this evening, many of them involved with Arts Richmond as well. Linda White, who does our newsletter, Penelope Grant, Jean Witt, our treasurer, Graham Harmes, and Carenza Lopez, who helped out with the programme. Thank you for them. And so last but not least, we thank Roger McGough again, and we hope to see him again for next year. A huge pleasure. Thank you. A selection of Roger's books are available on sale in the foyer afterwards, if you haven't seen them. We also have on sale, if you haven't pre-ordered, some remaining copies of this year's Identity Anthology and last year's Anthology Time. And I'm sure Roger will be more than happy to sign a copy or two downstairs. Arts Richmond will be back here again in November with our contribution to the Richmond Literature Festival, and then next year, hopefully back here for our annual Young Writers Awards, and we have our 2019 Young Writer Laureate Simone de Almeida here today, who is reviewing this event for us. Thank you. So please do check our website. I mentioned it earlier, artsrichmond.org.uk. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all the social media, usual subjects. Visit our website for all our upcoming events. And of course, the events of our many affiliates who we support throughout the borough. So I'd just like to thank again our poets and poems, and the winners who did such a fantastic job today. And if you could show please go for it. Thank you, and see you next year.